Guys, have you decided to go with the Saddlemen seat, but there's so many choices? You've come to the right place. Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you and give you dimensions and specs and all the critical information on 6 Saddlemen seats for your Harley Davidson touring motorcycle. And we'll get into it right after this. So the first Saddlemen seat that we're going to talk about now is the first Saddlemen seat that I ever acquired for any of my bikes. And that is this seat here. This is the Saddlemen SDC Pro Gripper Seat. Now this one I ordered just sort of stock, so it has the stock configuration. I did order it with this rider backrest, which for me really works out well. This has a lattice stitch and has sort of a carbon fiber through that lattice stitch. And all of these seats, the one thing to remember is they do have the gel core technology built into those, so that keeps you on the bike longer. I believe they say it cuts down your vibration from both the bike as well as the road, the suspension, so it keeps you in the saddle longer for those longer trips. Technology, and I will tell you from my perspective, I certainly agree with that. So this one has the gel core up here in the rider portion. It does not have it back here in the passenger pillion section, but really this passenger pillion section is really narrow, so not a great seat for 2 up, but a really cool seat for 1 up. Now let's talk about measurements of these seats. So first I'm going to measure from the lumbar to the top of the seat, so you get a little idea about how far this will set you back. This one is about 15.5 inches. So this one only comes in one reach, and it says 15.5, and really it's almost an extended reach seat. So if you're a little bit shorter, I'm 5'10", and I usually have about a 31, 32 inseam. With my boots, probably 33 or 34. This works okay for me, but it's getting a little bit on the long side. I like to set up a little bit closer to the tank, but if you're taller and you like to sit back a little bit farther, this SDC Pro Gripper will do you. So let's talk about the width from side to side, kind of where your hips are. And I'm going to get that at the widest back here at the lumbar. So we'll measure that, and it's about 10 inches from side to side. So not a super wide seat. So this seat at the highest point, coming about right here, is about 29 inches. So again, that is with the bike sitting here on its weight. So unladen height, about 29 inches with this seat, which I believe is about the same as if you have the stock seat on your Harley Davidson touring motorcycle. It does have the gripper material back here, so it does hold you in the lumbar. It does have a fairly high lumbar, and as I said, a little bit longer from here, but with this backrest, it kind of pushes you up just a little bit. So for me, it was good. And this type of seat, I would say I've ridden, thousands of miles on this, and I did a full video on kind of a 1,500 mile review on this. But this one for me is good. I can ride all day on this. Again, it's with that gel core technology, so I can ride all day with this one. So the next seat we'll talk about, this is actually the Saddlemen Slim RP. So it's rolled and pleated through here. So now this one, unlike the SDC, it does not have the gripper material back here. This is all sort of solid. I believe they call this Whisper Black. I'm not sure. And again, I just ordered this stock from Saddlemen. It has all black stitching throughout. It does have this rolled pleat through here. Has a pretty good sized lumbar. And again, not much room for a passenger pillion back in the back. So probably not a great seat for 2 up, but it could do in a pinch. Now this again does have the gel core through here. You can order gel core back here, but this particular one does not have that. So like we did on the SDC, let's compare some measurements on this one. Again, from the front of the seat to the lumbar, let's get a measurement on that. And we are at about 15 on this one. So now let's measure from here to here. And this one will be different from that because this one is a little bit wider. And this one is at about 11.25 from side to side where your hip area would be. Now I forgot to do it on the SDC, but this one is similar in terms of the width of the pillion. pretty narrow. I'm going to get it at the widest part, sort of in the middle, and you're at about 6 inches. So your passenger's probably not going to appreciate the pillion on this. So like the SDC Pro Gripper, this RP Slim is again about 29 inches on your unladen height. So as the bike sits here, you're about 29 inches off the ground. So that gives you some indication. Obviously, when you sit on that bike, it's going to go down. So you're probably in the maybe 28 inches. You'll probably go down about 1 inch. And again, I do have a 13-inch rear shock on this, a Legend suspension. So it does set just a little bit higher than your specials would sit with the 12-inch shock. All right, so now the next seat we're going to talk about, this is actually the Touring Tuck and Roll seat. So this one actually has a little bit wider passenger pillion. It has the step-up design in the lumbar, so it gives you good support back here. And it has this tuck and roll, kind of an old school look. And this again is sort of the standard fabric from Saddlemen that they put on these seats. Again, gel core technology here. You can get gel core back here for your passenger. Just tell you a little bit about this one. This one is probably, of the Saddlemen seats that I have, out of the box, this was probably the most comfortable, and it's really because of this tuck and roll. That gives you a little bit more cushion. Oftentimes people will say Saddlemen seats are too firm. Again, my opinion, and you've probably heard this on some of my other videos, is a firm seat is a good seat. A soft seat over time is going to break down, and that's what happened to me with those stock seats with that very not so high quality foam that's in those seats and the covering on that. I began to get tailbone problems, and I no longer have that once I switched these Saddlemen seats. Don't have that gripper back here on the lumbar. I believe you can get that as an option, and I'll talk about that when I go over the custom seat and all the things you can do. From the front to the lumbar, this one's going to be a little shorter. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll find out together here. This one is about 14 3/4. So this one does push you up a little bit farther. Again, this is a standard reach. They do have an extended reach in this as well. So if you're a little bit taller, I believe it's about 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches that it will actually push you back. Probably something more similar to the SDC. So you're about probably 15.5 to 16 inches from here to here. So now side to side, again, this is set up for your touring. It is a step-up seat, so it does have that aggressive look, but really good for touring as well. This one at the widest portion, we are at about 12 1/4. So again, a little more hip support through here. It's a little bit wider than the other two seats that we just looked at. And then let's go back to the passenger pillion. So the portion where they're behind would be on is obviously much wider, and you're at about 9 inches at the widest portion compared to, I think, around 6 inches on the other two seats that we previously just covered. So this one would be more suited for two-up riding, but again, depending on your passenger, if they want that total comfort, this one will be good. I don't know that it would be good for all day for your passenger, but from a rider's perspective, I stayed in this seat, like I said, 600-700 miles, an all-day ride from here to Arkansas, St. Louis to Arkansas, and I was super comfortable. So this one, getting down here and looking at, this is actually probably about 28 3/4, so not quite as thick as the other ones, but it's close to that 29 inch. Again, that's unladen, no weight on this seat. I do have a 13-inch shock on the back of this bike, but if you sit on this, when you're sitting on it, it probably drops it down about at least a good 1/2 inch, so you're probably 28.5, maybe about 28 inches. Now the other thing that I failed to mention on the first two seats, plus this one, is these Saddlemen seats are much narrower in through here, so that you can actually get your legs in closer to the bike. So if you do have a little bit shorter inseam, that allows you to get flat-footed much easier. So let me take a quick measurement on this. And probably about where your legs would come over, this is only measuring out at about 7 3/4, maybe 8 inches across there. So that is a huge reduction in that width over your stock seat. I don't know what the stock seat is, but coming up here on the tank, these stock seats come out, I would say, about 8.5 9 inches, versus when these Saddlemen seats come up onto your tank, it's only 4 inches. So you're really reducing that width, which makes it much easier to get your legs down, even though maybe this laden height here may be the same, but you're able to get your legs in closer to the bike, which makes it that much easier to flat foot or get your feet safely on the ground. So the next seat we're going to talk about, this is the Road Sofa LS, and the LS stands for lattice stitch. Again, it has that kind of diamond pattern. It has the perforated material kind of in through here and up into the lumbar. And then it has sort of the more traditional material kind of going all around. So the Road Sofa is the Mac Daddy of touring seats in the Saddlemen line. So this is the one if you're going to be laying down 500, 1,000 miles in a day, you're going to be riding for a week, 2 weeks at a time. This is the one you want to have. Again, gel core through here, gel core up here for your passenger. And again, this one is set up ultimate touring, great seat for the rider, great seat for the passenger. Now this one you can get heated, which mine is heated, and I would highly suggest if you do get the heated version, get the quick disconnect or connect option that you put onto the seat and then connect it into the bike so that you can disconnect it and take it on and off the bike easily. Otherwise, you actually have to hardwire the seat onto your battery for the power. A couple switches up here in the front, one for the driver and one for the passenger so they can flip that on and off the heat. Let's take some measurements on this one. There's a big difference in this one as compared to the first 3 that we looked at because this really is set up for touring. Measurement from the lumbar to the front of this is about 15. So not too dissimilar from the others, but I will say with this high lumbar, it is comfortable for me. And again, this one you can also get in a reach version. This is the standard version. So now the big difference is really going to be the width here for the rider. And that width here in the hip area, we're all the way out to 15 inches there. So really going to get good support for the hips. You got a high lumbar here that's going to support your back. This one you can also get a rider backrest option on this, so you can put that rider backrest. And again, on these Saddlemen seats, the rider backrest, you don't have to connect anything to the bike. It's all built into the seat, and you just slide that backrest in there. So now let's go back here. The widest part for the pillion here is about 12.5 inches, so lots of room for your passenger. So let's get that measurement from the ground up to here. And I'm going to go from the highest part of that seat, and it is about 30 inches. So again, a good inch or so higher than those others, but again, you got more cushion or more padding in through here because this is your ultimate touring seat in the Saddlemen line. Okay, so something a little bit different. If you want to go for that solo seat setup look, this is the Dominator low solo seat in the regular reach. This one also does come in a longer reach. This has a carbon fiber material through here. I don't know that you can actually change that, but again, wait till the last seat and I'll show you how much you can actually customize these seats to your liking. It does have this ridge through the middle so that you don't get that pressure on your tailbone. So obviously a solo seat, but you can actually add this passenger pillion section on there. That does come separate, and you would have to order that separately from just the Dominator seat itself. And that's pretty simple. It has these brackets here that sort of slide up into the nuts that hold this onto here. I don't have that fastened down correctly, but essentially it sits like this. And then screws into your seat bolt nut area back in the back of the seat and sits like that. Now the interesting thing is, if you do want a backrest, which I actually used it for the first time when I took the CVO to Sturgis, I ran with the backrest, and let me show you that real quick. So this is the backrest. And again, you can see it just has this metal post that slides in through the opening. There's no additional hardware that you actually have to add onto the bike. It's all built into these seats. And you can see probably here this carbon fiber, and again it has the same pattern through the middle, just like the seat, just like the passenger pillion. So it really looks like a solo converted to a 2-up to a backrest sort of seat system. So you can get all of these in that Dominator family. And again, I think you can get this in smooth and some other configurations. This is sort of the standard in this carbon fiber, and it does come with the silver stitch. And again, you can change those stitch colors, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the custom seat. So now let's get some measurements on this Dominator low seat. So again, we've got the measurement from here to here, from the lumbar to the front of the seat. This one's a little bit shorter, coming in at about 14.5. And our width in the hip area at the widest area is about 13. So let's get that measurement from the floor to here. And if I'm looking at this, we're at about 28.75, close to that 29, just like the other seats, but certainly lower than the road sofa. Okay guys, so we're at the 6th and final seat, and this one is really cool because this is completely customized, and I selected every option on this seat. So this starts out as the Step Up Touring versus the Touring Step Up. So essentially a step up seat for your touring models versus your soft tail, but it is different than the Touring Step Up that we talked about a little bit earlier. So what's so cool about this? Again, it's a step up, so it's got that high lumbar, right? Not much passenger pillion room here. Very, again, narrow through here. And we'll get this measurement in just a moment. But what is really cool is I actually picked out all the material, the stitching colors that went into this. So I selected a carbon fiber through here material. This is all gripper material up through the lumbar and actually through the seat. So when you sit on this seat, it really holds you in that seat and you're not going to slide around at all. It does have silver stitching. It kind of looks white. I went with silver, and I also provided a file that had the HDVIBE logo letters in my logo. So back here it actually says HDVIBE in the silver stitching, and then the Saddlemen logo back here in the back is also in the silver stitching. So the interesting thing is, even though this has this gripper material, it still has the gel core technology built into this. It does not have it back here because I didn't order it that way. And it is a tuck and roll through here. Now you can get this in a variety of configurations. You can get the lattice stitch, you can get all different kind of colors, but I like the tuck and roll because I feel on the Saddlemen seats, from my perspective, the tuck and roll is probably the most comfortable because it does give you a little bit of padding that pumps that up, and you still have that gel core underneath there. So a really cool option, and you can do all this customization on the Saddlemen website, which I'll have a link to it. It's pretty simple, saddlemen.com, and you go and select your seat, but I'll have a link to all that, so you can actually go and check out all these seats on the website. And again, a lot of these are very configurable. Most of those seats I just went with the stock configuration, except for this one. Very customized, very cool. They can do just about anything you want. Let's get the measurements on this like we did on the other seats. So again, from the lumbar to the top of this seat, it's about 14.5. So about the same as some of the other seats. Definitely closer to the tank than on the SDC Pro Gripper. This one is pretty wide, wider I believe than the SDC. We're at about 12 inches on this one up here. And again, your passenger pillion, they're not going to be very happy with you. This one, where they would be sitting, is about 6.5 inches. For me, I would even ride this on a long trip because of this tuck and roll style on this step-up seat. And I think, again, as I mentioned earlier, probably one of the most comfortable setups on these Saddlemen seats that you can get. So let's get the measurement on this at the highest point, and looking at it, it's about 29, maybe even slightly just under 29. It's hard to say exactly, but it's in that range, so it does set you down a little bit. It does come in narrow into here, just like the other Saddlemen seats. And again, up here at the tank, it's 4 inches, just like the others. They're all come in very narrow into here and cut in very narrow here, so your hips aren't spread out. So again, so you can get your feet down on the ground if you're a little bit shorter. Guys, that is 6 Saddlemen seats that I have run. I am very comfortable on all of these. So guys, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. Have you run any of these Saddlemen seats? Are you considering any of these? Are you thinking about the Ultimate Tour and the road sofa? Are you thinking about a solo setup with the option to go and tune up with the Dominator series? with a backrest. Some of these can get backrests on them as well. Or are you going for that real performance look, like with this custom step up, or that Saddlemen SDC for the ultimate performance look? But still you get that comfort and that gel core technology built into those seats for staying in that saddle longer throughout the day. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you got some value out of this, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that button right down here, and when you do subscribe, leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, share this with your friends so other like-minded individuals can learn a little bit more about Saddlemen seats and all the different options and configurations and styles of seats that you can put on these Harley Davidson touring motorcycles. I also have over 200 videos on tips, tricks, rides, reviews, and installs on these Harley Davidson touring motorcycles. I have playlists by product type, by bike, and as you know, I have 3 touring bikes, the Road Glide and 2 Street Glides, so there's bound to be something else that you want to see there. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the differences between a stock seat and a Saddlemen seat, I will have a link to a video right up here that I go in depth into that, and you'll be surprised at really what the difference is and how much quality and thought goes into these Saddlemen seats. So guys, with that, I want to leave you with this thought. Life is short, get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.